What's up, everybody? Chris coming to you from Salty Island, and with the upcoming release of the Eldar Codex, I wanted to go ahead and take a blast from the past and show off something that I had in my collection from when I started 40k, my Boomer Speak back in 3rd edition. This is the 3rd edition Eldar Codex. This was released, let's take a quick glimpse here. So first of all, actually, this was $15. Back when I originally purchased it. It's still got the sticker from Hobbytown, USA, which no longer exists here in Las Vegas. The book itself is pretty thin, as you can see. It's there's not a lot to it. It is also soft cover, not a fancy hardcover like modern books. And page count wise, I don't know. There's no page numbers on this thing, so. 7, 8, 9. Oh, there you go. There's some page numbers later on. 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. So 48 pages. It's a whole 48 pages for $15. If this is worth the price, I mean, for $15, it's pretty hard to get upset about the quality of the content, but we're going to flip to the book, and then you guys can make a decision for yourself. Has the pricing of GW's upcoming 200-page, $60 codex, is it worth the difference compared to this $50 or $15 codex? So it's four times the content. It is 4 times the number of pages, so let's take a look and actually see. There you go. This is the OG Eldar Codex Art from way back in the day, and as you can see, you're going to immediately notice a couple content things. One, there is color pictures. You've got the art. A lot of these armies will be familiar to a lot of people. You've seen this forever. But also, you'll notice that there's a lot of black and white pages. Some great art, fantastic old school art, but it is black and white. So that is something that is a little different from the older codexes, and a lot of it is going to be black and white, compared to the modern codexes where the whole thing is predominantly all in color. The pages aren't bad. It's all right quality, and obviously it's held up over the years. I mean, I don't play Eldar very much. This was the first army I wanted to play, but as any of you who've been around the channel knows, my first army became Thousand Sons. And as we get closer to that, I also have the 3rd edition, or the infamous 3.5 Chaos Codex, which we'll take a look at that in the future. But for now, it talks about the overview of the Eldar, why collect Eldar, and the lore for the most part hasn't changed too much. It's space elves. They're a dying race. Slaanesh hates them. They hate everybody. This, interestingly, was before the Dark Eldar even existed. So originally, Eldar was first. There was Harlequins, that from Rogue Trader days, I believe there were Harlequin models, but no Dark Eldar, and definitely no Codex Harlequin. So you get one army. We'll kind of flip through here. Eldar Army. So actually, for those of you who are fairly new, over here you can see that this is the original Force Org chart. Everybody had the same Force Org chart. You had one Force Org chart. You were required 1 troop, or 2 troops, and 1 HQ. Then you had an optional to go up to 6 troop, 3 fast, 3 heavy, 3 elite, and get a 2nd HQ. And back in 3rd edition, this is what everyone had. You didn't really have any alternatives. There were some alternative type army lists. Ravenwing and Deathwing were perfect examples, where you had models that were not necessarily troop, but counted as troop, and you could build some trick army lists. And we'll actually kind of peek at one. I believe Same Han actually has that option in here. So you can see this is pretty much what everyone had to work with. And back then it was armies were 1,500 points. What was the quote competitive scene, though that's a relative statement in 3rd edition. But there was a bit of a competitive scene. Rolling into 4th is when competitive play really picked up. I believe the game sizes bumped to 1,750. And then it bumped to a weird 1850 at some point. I don't know what the deal with that was. It was like the compromise between 1750 and 2000, because people didn't want to play 2000. the games were going to start to run long, as we kind of see today. That's how it works. But they resisted that for a long time, and then they finally went to 2000, and the points have fluctuated since. Eldar Armory. So as you can see here, there's things are really different than they used to be. There's like 1 point upgrades. There are Warlock powers. You paid per power. There was no Psychic phase in the 3rd edition, so the Psychic powers went off in whatever respective phase that they listed. We'll kind of look at that. And vehicles had updates. It's pretty similar to what you see, and you'll see down here in the weapons table. This is going to look pretty familiar to everyone. There's weapon skill, ballistic. Oh, wait, I take that back. I lied. Weapon skill and ballistic skill. There was a funky chart for any of you who remember this. There was a chart that you kind of compared two numbers to. The short of it is the chart went away because it was stupid for hitting, and now you just get a flat hit roll. But before, if you had an avatar with a weapon skill 10, and you had another close combat character that had weapon skill 8, that weapon skill 8 character was going to suck against an avatar because an avatar is just that much better. That's a thing. Strength, Eldar have always been strength 3, have pretty much traditionally been toughness 3 also. The avatar used to be strength 6, toughness 6, which is pretty ass, but that's what you did back in the day. Wounds was a tiny number back in the day. The Wraith Lord was 3 wounds. That's rough. I mean, it was really good back in the day, but that's pretty rough. The Avatar was 4. Keep it in mind, there wasn't a lot of multi-wound weapons, so that's a thing also. Initiative was a thing. The higher initiative would go first. So if you just had an army with initiative 5, like Eldar did, you were just swinging first. That's how it worked. Attacks, a lot of people had 1 attacks. The Avatar had 3 whole attacks, and that was pretty monstrous. Leadership is leadership. Saves are saves. Vehicles, as you can see, had directional specific armor, so front, side, rear. Each had a different armor value. There was another janky-ass table. Nobody's sad that that's gone. Going to toughness and just having a standard profile, way better. That's definitely going to be on my list of rules that I hope never come back. Is stupid armor facing. Because then you also got dumb things like, if armor was better on a certain side, then you're just kind of boxing your vehicles up next to each other so they can't get hit on a stupid side. It was dumb. It was not good. It was thematic, but not good. Weapons, as you can see, also look pretty familiar. Shuriken pistols, 12 inches. Shuriken catapults, 12 inches. Shuriken cannon, 24. This should pretty much look like what, for the most part, people remember. Strength 4 guns, strength 6 on the cannon. Heavy 3 was the Shuriken cannon, 24, strength 6. AP was different. So the way AP used to work is this beat whatever armor value was. So it was a all or nothing kind of a thing in 3rd edition. So for example, if you had a 5-up save and the Shuriken cannon has AP 5, it completely bypassed your armor and you didn't get shit. Whereas if you were a Space Marine and you had armor 3, then you got your armor 3. You got all your armor 3, and the Shuriken cannon's AP didn't do shit. Likewise, down here, the Prism Cannon, AP 2. That means it bypassed everything who had up to armor 2, so Terminators included, and it just completely bypassed your armor. It was all or nothing. You just don't get any armor, it's just die. It's save or suck. Also, there weren't a lot of things that modified AP, and there's not a lot of things that modified armor in this edition. So you can't get +1 AP. It wasn't that easy. So basically, if you had a gun that bypassed armor, you just bypassed armor. It made Space Marines extremely good because, as you can see on this list, if it doesn't have AP at least 3, you just don't get it. Even this AP4, the plasma missile launcher. You just don't get it. You just get your 3+ safe, and sucks to be you, Eldar. There we go. There's a bit of a narrative. And the OG Warlock. Is that Eldrad? I think that might be Eldrad. The old Striking Scorpion art. You guys have probably seen that. It's a pretty famous picture. And a bit of a narrative here. Oh, and it jumps straight to rules. As you can probably guess, with as little pages as it does, not a whole lot on the fluff side. So jumping straight into the rules here, Avatar started out at 80 points apiece, and it's got a pretty chunky block of special rules given of what it was of its time. Farsier is 40. Farsier has options. It may be equipped with items from the Eldar Armory, and it has bodyguard. It can be accompanied by up to 5 warlocks. So if you're wondering how you get a lot of HQ units when you only have 2 slots, that's how they did it. So the Farseer can take a warlock bodyguard. You take up to 5 warlocks, 1 Farseer. That basically fills one slot at that point. Elites. Straight into the Warp Spider. As you can see, the Exarchs. This is kind of how it's been up until the current book. The Exarch was an additional point. And let's see here. The Exarch, however, in the older editions had optional additional powers that you could take. For example, on the Warp Spiders, for 30 points, he could take the power Surprise Assault. For 15 points, he could get the power Withdraw. So that was one option. They also had some additional equipment upgrades as well. So you basically bought the unit, you paid for the Exarch, optional. You could pay for weapon upgrades, and then you could pay for additional abilities for the Exarch. So it was a very kind of customizable feel to it, where different people could have different things. Striking Scorpions back in the day were actually the better of the two. For start, they had a 3-up save. That was actually pretty nice. And they had quite a few things. The Wave Serpent, for example, was a transport for 110. That's built into the Striking Scorpions, where you can take that. So that also kind of helps you fill additional units into slots. There wasn't really a transport role. Banshees were pretty rough, strength 3. And they didn't have really a whole lot of other things, but the one thing they did have is I do believe Banshees had AP3, or had, the AP3, which essentially allowed them to bypass everything that had an armor save of 3 or worse. So Banshees were for murdering Space Marines. Scorpions were tougher. Were they tougher? Nope, they were still toughness 3. Oh, they're strength 4. That's Scorpions. Fire Dragons were always your anti-tank. 17 points a model. And 11 more for the Exarch. Things are pretty expensive. That is a 28-point Exarch, because you buy the Fire Dragon and you upgrade one of them for 11 points to an Exarch. So armies were pretty small back then. This is also why armies and games could get done in like an hour back in 3rd edition. I remember once we kind of got down and got good at the game, it was about an hour to play a game at 1,500 points. Troops. Rangers have always been troops. Still are. They got cloaks. They can move through difficult terrain. They infiltrate. These are pretty much things that have persisted since the beginning of 3rd edition and carried all the way into 9th even today. What you got? Guardian Storm Squad, Dire Avengers, the good old Wave Serpent, 12 front armor, 12 side, 10 rear. I'm trying to remember how armor worked. I want to say there was 2 ways that if you shot at it. You take the strength plus d6. I want to say it's plus strength plus d6. If you matched the armor value, it was a glancing hit. And if you beat the armor, it was a penetrating hit. And there was a table that you then rolled on afterwards. Another table. You're going to hear me reference tables a lot. That's what 3rd edition was. So you reference the table. And like, for example, on a glancing hit, you needed to roll a 6 to destroy a vehicle. Like, just flat out destroyed. Like, gone. Too bad. That's why there's no wounds on a vehicle. So you roll a glance, you roll a 6, destroyed. I believe something like 5 was immobilized, where the vehicle was basically stuck wherever it was and facing whatever direction it was. 4, I want to say, was weapon destroyed. So you picked a weapon on the vehicle, it lost use of that weapon. 3 was shaken. Like shaken was, I think it was couldn't move and shoot. 2 was couldn't shoot, but you could move. I think 1 was just something dumb. I think that's what it was. Don't quote me on that one, but I'm pretty sure that's what the old thing was. As you can tell, it kind of sucks. It wasn't very ideal. If you penetrated, it was better. On a 4, 5, 6, it just flat out destroyed your vehicle. Like, again, no wounds. So if you pen, you roll that 4, 5, 6, vehicle destroyed, gone. And you just lost your vehicle. So things died. Things definitely died in 3rd. Probably also why games were pretty fast. Jet bikes. Jet bikes are an interesting one. They bounce around from being a fast attack. There was a few editions where they were troop. People lost their minds and obviously took all jet bikes. Those people can go to hell. Same Han playing motherfuckers. No, I'm just kidding. I like that army. That army was super good. Guardian jet bike squad. Yeah, Warlock was the same. You put the Warlock on the jet bike, stuff it in a jet bike squad. Hell yeah. That's how you do it. Shining Spears. Shining Spears were expensive. 50 points a model. At 1,500 points, 50 points a model, plus 20 for the Exarch. They were good, though. They were good. Toughness 4 because plus 1 for the jet bike. You can probably imagine that was good. Still 1 wound, though. That's the thing. All this is still 1 wound. So you take that hit, you still die. Viper. Viper was 10 all around. Like, for example, you just blast it with a bunch of strength 4 bolters, and you're fishing for 6s. If you hit that 6, there goes your Viper. That's how that works. Swooping Hawks. Swooping Hawks Bounding Leap. That was the one where you could re-deep strike them. That's where the reference to deep strike comes in. It's just an old keyword. And you have like your other vehicles. You know, your Falcon, Fire Prism, the Wraith Lord. The Wraith Lord had an actual profile, but it wasn't a fantastic. So it was Strength 5 up to 10, Toughness 8. Very few things in the game had Toughness 8. That was actually extremely rare and extremely good. Again, remember vehicles didn't have toughness back then, so like I don't think that there was much in the game that was Toughness 8. And I can't even remember something in the game that was Toughness 9 back in 3rd edition. Attacks, 3 whole attacks. Strength 10, though. Strength 10 is also extremely good. Eldar, by the way, in this edition was extremely good. They weren't easy to play, but the people who knew how to play them pretty much were, I would say, definitely top tier. Grace, if you're Grace from Las Vegas, if you ever see this video, shout outs to you. Grace had a fantastic Bieltan army that used Striking Scorpions and Banshees, and it was really good. She played it really well and won a shit ton. I should know. I got smoked by it. Good. It was a good list. Very beautifully painted also. Very nice army. Warwalkers. Again, pretty fragile. Also, as you can see, weapon skill 3, that's not great. That's not great. It sucked back then, and it kind of sucks still today. Weapon skill 3 is essentially hitting on 4s. Ballistic skill 3 is hitting on 4s. Ballistic skill 4 is hitting on 3s. That's just an easy way to remember it. And the weapon skill you got to compare. So, if you're fighting crappy things, it might not be bad. But if you're fighting something with a better weapon skill, that sucks to be you. So, for example, here, Dark Reaper, ballistic skill 5. That's hitting on 2s. Why GW couldn't just say hit on 2s? I don't know. That's just how they chose to do it. They gave you a table. All you need to know is that the ballistic skill plus whatever number must equal 7. Real easy. I don't know why. Oh, so here we go. Color pictures. Yep, color pictures are. This is the OG avatar. This is tiny. This is not nearly as big as it used to be. And even these metal models. I wish I had some of the metal models. I don't. I only have newer Eldar models. But these will look extremely familiar to some of you because the models really haven't changed a whole lot aesthetically. Some these models right here. These things, they were metal. They got changed to fine cast, which is basically just the metal. Then they got changed to plastic, which is basically just the fine cast, which is just the metal. So if you are wondering why 3rd edition models look extremely similar to the ones like these swooping hawks here, this falcon, you're not looking at it wrong. This falcon is the exact same falcon that you can buy today. Same one. These Wraith Guard are different though. And as you can see, the Wraith Lord got completely redesigned. I have a soft spot for the old Wraith Lord, but, you know, it does look pretty hokey. It's like a head with like legs and arms sticking out of it. With that said, I've got a soft spot for this model. It was a pain in the ass to put together though, so I don't miss that. This Viper's still the same also. We know that the bikes got updated, but it's not far off from what they used to be in the grand scheme of things. There you go. Fire Dragons, still the same. Rangers, they were the same up until we just got new Rangers. Thank God they needed an update. Actually, most of this line needs an update. The Reapers, there you go. They're better. They're definitely better. And the Prism, there you go. Yeah, I mean, it looks the same. Warwalker, the Warwalker got redesigned also, actually. So there's some things that got redesigned, thank goodness. But this is what it used to look like back in 3rd edition. They had an interesting thing back in 3rd edition codexes. They gave you tips on how to play the army. You know, like you have a resilient center and some fast flanking units. So you got like jet bikes and those are warp spiders that can, you know, get around the table. You know, they move up. You pinch in on the side. This is the fast army here where you just blitz people. This is your Alpha Strike. You know, you jump some swooping hawks, fly up some fast dudes, dump people out. You used to be able to jump out of transports after it moved. You also used to be able to assault out of transports. Blood Angels players and World Eaters players will remember this. You guys suck. I say that, but nothing but love. But I definitely hated it back in the day. Having like a Rhino rush up on you, a bunch of dudes jump out, charge you in the face, wipe a unit. Then they can consolidate 6 inches. They consolidate into another unit. And you can kind of see where this goes. It does not go well. You got a firepower army. Warwalkers, Prisms. Just blast people. You could gunline it. Pretty much the tactics of Eldar have not really evolved a whole lot. They gotta do what they do. Here we go. You want to see what an army looks like? This right here, this up here, this was an army, an actual army. You got a Farsier with 2 locks as bodyguard, 2 troops with the weapon platform. Take a Falcon, take a unit of Wraiths, take a fast attack. I didn't do the math before starting this video. Maybe I'll, if I'm smart, I will put the math up on the screen right now. So if you're watching this, maybe like right about here. Actually, I'll put it right over here where it's white. Right here. This will show the point value of this upper army over here, so you can kind of get an idea. But I want to say that it's a little small, actually. This lower one here, this looks more appropriate for what I would say people fielded. And I'll also put right here. This is the point value now for this lower army. Now, painting guide. I mean, it's Eldar. You guys have seen Eldar. You know what it looks like. Right, you got how to do bases. Got some scenic base. You know, you got the green. The green. Everybody who's seen an old army seen this green. But you also painted brown. Desert World. White for Ice World. It's pretty much what it is. Looking at the Craftworld, Bieltan. I would say Bieltan back in the day was really popular. Samehan was always very popular. Ulthwé was the 13th Black Crusade, the original 13th Black Crusade. They had released an alternate army list for the Ulthwé Strike Force. It was one of the first of the where they limited your unit choices and then it gave you a bunch of buffs in exchange. It was very cool and was kind of set the groundwork in the future for things like, you know, formations and the battalions and alternate army lists and the regiments of renown. That actually started all the way back in 3rd, so it's not really a new concept. It's something that's been around a long time. Aliatok, this is the Ranger army, and Iyanden. And it was a little different. They had this blue with like yellow flames motif back in the day. It kind of evolved into the more significantly more yellow with blue accents. It's got the aspect warriors, so if you want to see what the aspect warriors look like. Yeah. Painting jet bikes, just different jet bikes, using transfers. It's the same transfers. It's literally the same transfers from back in the day. I mean, maybe it was a little smaller. This is the transfer sheet. A little smaller than it was back in the day. There you go. Same Han army. I mean, yeah. Hot tips. Eldar characters. Thorns. So you guys can kind of see that. Yeah, the fire prism. Now, the fire prism used to be different. I think this was solid before. Then they replaced it with a clear acrylic one. But you could still paint over it anyway. So maybe the prism changed a little bit. Maybe. I don't have an old prism to compare to, unfortunately. Here's some showcase of people painting things. The G-Dub studio. You can see the OG Phoenix Lords. Baharoth. There's the classic Jane Zar and Malgan Ra. Obviously, there Jane Zar got updated. Malgan Ra, new model. Definitely well improved. This model, I like this model a lot. Making a metal model stay like this is probably the thing of nightmares. I hate that. I hate it so much that as much as I love that model, and I probably purchased it 2 or 3 times in an attempt to build an Eldar army, it's the death of me every time. There's the Wraith Lord. You'll see a lot of older stuff in this lightning kind of pattern. That's definitely some 80s, 90s kind of throwback. Canderous, Fuegan. There's the OG Eldrad, the old Avatar, Osman. A little bulky there. Yeah, fancier Wraiths. Before, these were the only Wraith option you had to. You only had one gun. Wraiths with cannons. You didn't really get no D-sides, no close combat weapons. This is just what you got. You got this one. That's the only one you got. As you can see, there's a picture of a Harlequin. So the Harlequins existed, but not really in their own army. There's another little army map picture. So, one thing that you guys might be wondering is, if you were looking for a special character, you didn't see any. So an interesting thing from 3rd edition was special characters were technically not legal. They weren't technically balanced super well. So the rule was that you could use special characters with the approval of your opponent. And I will say that some of the special characters from back in the day were really good. Like mad good for their points. Armon was mad good. Machine Gun Armon was a real thing back in the day when his staff could cast theoretically infinite spells. As long as you just rolled 6s, you could just cast another spell. So it was real good. It was extremely good. Eldrad was also a monster back in the day. And so, it was kind of rude. For a long time, it was considered rude to play a named character. It was like just kind of a weird stigma that was in the game. So they talk about, here we go. So it talks about some vehicle upgrades, Warlock powers. So this is an interesting one. So for example, the Destructor power, the shooting one, is used, it specifically says, this power is used in the shooting phase instead of firing a weapon. So it's instead of, you use this power. The Destructor worked out like a normal shooting attack. It's a flame template. There were templates for flamers. Whatever the template covered hit. Strength 5, AP 4, so anything with armor 4, not Space Marines. Assault 1, fired 1 template, but the template could hit, however many things it could hit. Conceal, for example, let's see, gets a 5+ cover save, which was instead of an armor save. So you could take your armor or the cover save, whichever was better, but you always got the cover save. AP didn't negate that, so Conceal was really good for Eldar. And you use this, concealing them, blah, blah, blah. The Warlock's whole squad receives a 5+. Note that the squad is also in normal cover. You may only use one cover save, right? So you don't get to stack the cover saves either. Embolden. I believe if it didn't specify, the power was used. Was it movement phase? End the movement phase? Beginning of movement phase? Because really it was only move, shoot, assault. And the assault was the charge and fight phase combined into one. There was only 3 phases. I want to say I think it was used during the move phase. I want to say it was, unless it specified like a shooting, which was the shooting phase. Farsier Powers look all familiar. Guide, Fortune, Mind War, Eldritch Storm. They all did exactly what you thought they did. Eldritch Storm was super good back in the day. Makes a big storm. Enemy units within 18. Large Ordnance Blast template was big. Got big. In later editions, it got bigger when GW introduced the Apocalypse template, which was literally a pay-to-win. If you owned it and you paid money for it, you could use it. So it was like an Ordnance template. Then there was a bigger Ordnance template. And then there was like the Apocalypse one, which I might pull out. We owned the Apocalypse one because Shai bought it because he's kind of an asshole like that. And he used it. And he covered my entire deployment zone and hit me with Eldritch Storm. It was a thing. Exarch Powers. Here we go. So the Exarch Powers that you could purchase, they just list all of them here at once. So you can take a quick glimpse, see what your options were. They had some stuff. Let's see here. Like Defend, he strikes last, but you need 6s to hit him. Let's see. Sustain Assault. What does this do? For each close combat attack he inflicts, he may make... for each close combat hit he inflicts, he may make an extra attack. Yeah, this is really broken. You can see some of these are really good. Skillful Rider. Let's see. Difficult terrain was a thing. So if you were a vehicle and you went into terrain, anything with a vehicle stat, you go into terrain, you got to roll a dice. On a 1, you immobilize yourself because you're an idiot, and that's it. You're just immobilized, and you're stuck. Sucked a lot. Or if you're like a jet bike and you roll a 1, you smash yourself into a tree and you die. That's literally how it worked. It was pretty rough back then, but you completely ignore that. Fast shot was really good. You just shoot more. No one said bad to shoot more. Add 1 to the number of shots. That was pretty good. Just an easy buff. So there's a whole bunch of different Exarch powers. And Eldrad. Eldrad was real good. Eldrad was real... Oh, sorry about that. Eldrad was real expensive. 246 points. 3+ save. Rune armor. He knew all the psychic powers. He just had them all. And he had a bunch of things. What was it, like the Staff of Ultramar? Let's see, what did this do? Firstly, it can be used. Allows Eldrad to use another psychic power. There you go. It can be a psychic power he already used, so he can repeat spam his powers. It can be used in the assault phase, which it wounds on a flat roll of 2+, and it does not allow any armor saves. Yeah, so you can see real good. He had 3 attacks, hits wounds on 2, doesn't care. He just wounds on 2, no saves. Period. Armor saves, no armor saves. Invuln saves were extremely rare. Like Terminators had them. There were no storm shields back then, so invuln saves were rare. And Eldrad could just tear through things. That was the thing. Divination. He had to get some other stuff. Oh, reserve rolls. Yeah, reserves were random. You didn't always get your reserves. You had to roll for it. Eldrad let you help that. +1. And bodyguard. Eldrad. 250 points. If you're wondering, if 250 points sounds really good for like a ton of special rules, it was. Eldrad was really good. This is why named characters were optional. For those of you who are classic Ayanna fans, Ayanna Arariano. Yep. This is a character that I don't think exists anymore. At least I haven't seen them for a really long time. This is an Ayandan special character from way back in the day. Ooh, Nuhadu Fireheart. This was a same Han special character. He was the OG Wild Rider Chief. He was a vehicle. Except he had armor 11. 3 attacks. Weapon skill 5. Ballistic skill 4. Strength 4. Bunch of weapons. He could hit and run, which meant that, let's see. This means that he can always move 6 inches in the assault phase as long as he did not move more than 12 in the movement phase. Well, there you go. Even if he's not charging, he can just move anyway. Actually, this is where hit and run, this incarnation of the rule is where the move, shoot, move originated from. So the new battle focus, or what Tau had with move, shoot, move. This was kind of like the origination of that rule, where you could move in the movement phase, and regardless of charging or not charging, you always got a 6-inch move in the assault phase. So there you go. That's a little bit on how that used to work. And he had Chief of the Wild Hosts. Yep. Any unit led by him will never fall back, cannot be pinned. Well, pinning was a thing. Yeah. Pinning did exactly what you thought it did. If you got hit with pinning, you just couldn't move. And it kind of sucked a lot. Phoenix Lords. Phoenix Lords all had the same profile. It was a good profile, but the same profile. And really what it was is they had unique weapons. They had all of the Exarch Powers, and I believe an additional one. So, there's, take a look here. Like Barharoth was 160, Jane Zar was 143. You'll notice that sometimes numbers are just not round numbers. Azumir 137, 149 for Fuegan. Yeah, it looks like Kandris 165. He's the most expensive one here. This is what it is. Fearless morale checks. Morale checks were a thing, kind of like Age of Sigmar. If you're an Age of Sigmar player, that's how 40k used to work. Models used to run, and when they ran, the whole model would fall back. If the enemy had a unit in close combat, when you fell back, they could try and chase you down. If they caught you, they wiped the unit. No questions asked. The whole unit just dead, gone. Wiped the whole thing out. Even if one model caught one model, dead. If they had a enemy unit within 6, they couldn't rally. They just kept falling back. If they hit the edge of the board, they run off the table, dead, gone. So you could, like a really expensive unit that broke and started running, you could kind of kite them straight off the table. That was a valid strategy to do, especially on gunline armies like IG. If you made a unit break, you could also panic the units next to you, make multiple units break, and then just kind of kite them off the table. It was a rough time. That's probably also why games lasted an hour. You can tear through things fast. There you go. God of Laughter. There's some references here. The Soul Drinker. Darkkin. There's the first reference to the Dark Eldar. It's just a little blurb here in this book. The Outcasts. These are the Pathfinders. So there's some stuff in here. Solitaire. It's a reference to the Harlequins here. All right. So this page right here actually has some pretty classic lore. And then there's lastly, there's a little narrative here with this picture, some art, some little artwork of the guns, the Banshee mask, the Mandem blasters, the Eldar power sword. There you go. And this is the this is the map of where the craft worlds were. It's not very specific, but that's the Segmentum Obscurus Western Quadrant. So there you go, peeps. That's a quick little flashback in the day to what's the copyright on this? Let me see if I can find what the copyright date on this book is. It's got 1999. Games Workshop, 1999. There you go. Codex Eldar 3rd edition. Hope you guys enjoyed this look at old school 40k, kind of get a chance to see where some of the old rules came from. If you guys like this content, I've got a few other books. I will definitely be doing this for the Chaos 3.5 Codex. If you know a Chaos player who played back in the day, you know he isn't shutting up about that book. And if you're wondering what the big deal is, we'll definitely get to that when the when the Chaos Codex is about to release. But thank you for checking us out. Definitely, we would appreciate any support, likes, subscribes, comments. Tell us that we're great. Tell us that we suck. Whatever. We appreciate it all. We just appreciate that you're watching this video. So thank you, everyone. Hope you all stay safe, keep hobbing, and peace out.